Hey, how you doing? It's your boy DE Astrology, and right now I'm doing the Sun in Virgo. Virgo is the sixth sign of the zodiac. It's an Earth sign, and it's also ruled by the planet Mercury. So, Mercury is the planet of communication. It's the planet of speech and thought too, as well. Virgo is the introverted sign that resides on Mercury. So Virgo is going to rule thought, analytics, uh, things. It analyzes its own thoughts. It analyzes other people's ways of doing things. It analyzes other people's actions, techniques, everything about the world. Just try to come up with a conclusion that works for them. Um, it's a mutable sign, and the mentalities of Virgos, because I'm a Virgo too, so the mentalities of Virgos can be rather fragile. And when I say fragile, I don't mean weak. It's when you intaking so much information and you intaking so much data and you crunching so many numbers and expressions and things like that. Um, what this does is it modifies your route to doing things, or it modifies your route to how you want to get things done. Um, let's see. Also, too, uh, like I said before, they just like to see how other people get stuff done. So that way they can incorporate other people's techniques into achieving their goals and ideas just because they don't like to go backwards. This is the sign of the perfectionism. No, not the perfectionism. It's the sign that uses perfectionism. So they themselves, when they execute things or when they do things, they like to do things perfect. And they don't like backtracking, and they don't like having to go back and redo things just because they like they like perfectionism. They like perfecting something. They think about something 20 times in a row, but once they actually do something to manifest it, to the Virgo, they've thought about all the scenarios and possibilities. So when they put it out, they feel like it wasn't how they saw it in their head, which is something else entirely. It's not going to be how you see it always in your head. So that's something Virgo's got to remember. Um, Also, too, this is what makes them health conscious and stuff like that. Just because perfecting the body, perfecting the details, and all the other stuff, that's what causes them to be health conscious. But the mistake that Virgos make through all this perfectionism is the fact that um, everybody is different. So it's like Virgos see all the details but miss the most important detail of the fact that everybody is different. What work for one person might not work for somebody else. So that's something Virgos definitely got to keep in mind, that just because it worked for you, that don't mean it's gonna work for the next 10 people. So you have to remember that people and all the energies and everybody is an individual. Um, and also too, because they like to know how things work, they could be at a job or in a situation where like the boss or some things of that, the boss, they do the work of the boss, the manager, the janitor, the co-workers, and everything else in between, just because they want to be assets and just because they want to know the ins and outs and the intricacies of how everything in the situation works. Um, this will cause them to, like I said, play a bunch of different roles, but at the same frame of mind, it hinders the Virgo in the sense of building things or building a business or building a brand or building something of their own, because they can have a bunch of ideas and concepts on how to be the head in charge or the boss or things of that nature, but they that perfectionism kicks into play, and it won't allow them to make mistakes. It won't allow them to stumble and fall, because they want to be viewed as having everything together and having everything perfect. So that's why it won't, it almost kind of like an insult to the intelligence, or an insult like, how dare I not look like this, which is an arrogance and it's an ego to it, just like everybody else. But that's something you got to get over, and you had an idea to manifest something that'll help you and a bunch of other people, and you to be in charge of that and be basically independent and self-sufficient in that aspect. But you won't go through with it in lieu of something already else being established. So you will become an asset to everybody else, but a liability when it comes to your own self and your own independence. So that's something also too you got to look out for. Um, but they they make power. They don't think of it as a power move. They just think of it as moves. So that's where they say like the humbleness of the Virgo sign comes into play, because you could be doing everything that what people would in this day and age would consider a boss or or you know what I'm saying, the owner, the CEO, the founder. But in your head, it's all just work. So it's not like Capricorn where they recognize status and they recognize positioning, or it's not like Taurus where a Taurus would be uh, a know that it's its own foundation. A Virgo can be the foundation for itself and a bunch of other people and not even realize it. But that's what people like, the fact that they could become that approachable boss or that approachable manager or the you know what I'm saying? The manager that's not afraid to get into the trench with you and do the work, the grunt work, or go help somebody sweep or do this, do that, but still be looked at as that owner and that CEO um, that they truly are. So that's one thing, they don't look at it as that. But I'm gonna go back to the whole thing where I was talking about the business and things of that nature. When we're talking about business and stuff like that, Virgo doesn't have faith in itself. It lacks the faith and confidence in itself. So it might not flourish and it might not move the way it wants to move because of the fact that it lacks faith in its own ideas in lieu of something already being established. Because Virgo still represents the day-to-day activities, and Virgo still represent the day-to-day situations. So you might not you might not be able to get a payoff that day the same way you would if you went to work, or the same way you would if you filled out an application versus started your own business. It might not be that way, but that's something that they can learn from they trine sign, which is Taurus, is to play the long game. And when you got a concept and an idea, it's not going to be perfect all the time. When you're trying to manifest it and trying to make it better, it's not going to be perfect all the time, but you can have that faith in yourself to go ahead and just move forward despite what's going on. And then what it can learn from Capricorn, because Virgos gather a lot of information because they're trying to perfect something. So when you want to perfect something, you're gonna try to gather as much information about the situation and the subject as possible, so that way when you do come out and when you do hit, you can have all the check boxes checked off. So this makes them automatically gather a bunch of information. Whereas you can learn from Capricorn, instead of just sharing that information outright. And when I say share, I don't mean like hog it, but kind of like use it for what you using it for. You know what I'm saying? You don't always have to give it to other people to try to make yourself an asset of other people. You can use the information for what you want to use the information for. So this is what you can learn from Capricorn. And then something you can learn from your polar opposite, which is Pisces, is to go with the flow and have faith. When I say that, I don't mean to just go with somebody else's flow. When you use that energy of initiating your ideas, and then you go with the flow of that idea, and then you keep going with the flow of what you plan, your dream, your situation. So then that way, you could go with the flow, but still have a level of your independence. And then something that you can learn from another sign is Gemini. Gemini is your neighbor sign. Gemini also shares Mercury with you. And something that you can learn from Gemini is to just lighten up. And when you want to talk about lightening up or things of that nature, you can lighten up and become when it comes to your critiques and even your thought processes, you can lighten up on that and be lighthearted and kind of laugh it off and kind of be more air-like. But all in all, Virgos, they are pretty cool people. I know I sounded kind of harsh on them, but like I said, it's my own sign too. And once you get comfortable with the energy, you will be an asset to yourself. Other people be looked at as that person of having your own personal power, your independence to go to everything that you want to. But you just got to incorporate certain things to better yourself in your situation. And remember, you not it, you just doing it. And that was DE Astrology